Boom. There we go. We live. Solo-ish one tonight. So we'll get a few people in the building. I'll talk through what the idea is for this live. We get a few people in the building. Of course, I'll read a few chats and then I'll talk it through kind of what I'm thinking of doing. All right, so don't want to do that, obviously. Repop that back in. So obviously we get a few people in. Hope that didn't mess up the sound because I had that mic kind of hanging on by a thread. That looks okay. Let's see. Big up to Ben. Shout out to you, my man. Evening to all. Evening to Ben. Yes, KB. Evening to Ben. No, love, you're not first tonight. No, you're not first tonight, Ali Drew. You're not first tonight. Big up to Jamie. Evening all. Like the video, support G. Appreciate it, Jamie. I hope you're keeping well. I hope you're all right. Putting out some work, man. Putting out some work. That was a good vid on the Commonwealth Games. Putting out some good work on that. And I have to big up Jamie for that because it's something that I do enjoy, the amateur game. But it's never something I think to cover. So with Jamie doing that, how do I say it? Like he gets more of a genre. So big up to Jamie for that. And Jamie, look, man, like, you know, I know you're spoken for, but like, I mean, you got Ali Drew with the stars in her eyes, man. I mean, that's all I'll say, man. Ali Drew, I mean, let's be frank, man. She works at Boxing Social. She can get you in with some good interviews in there, mate. That's what I'll say there. Even the Oscar, big up. I was wondering what FS meant. Duo. He meant, obviously meant suck. Big up. Big up, big up. Big up to Anthony. Big up to Nate. Umar. Where's the piss bottle? Boom. There you go. There you go. 1.5 liters of water. So I'm in for the long haul tonight, lads. We in for the long haul tonight, lads. We in for the long one tonight. Nicest water you'll get. LG, Doc, I saw it yesterday. Or good Doc, I saw it yesterday. It was not easy. It was not easy, man. It was not easy to make that documentary from the start to finish because it took so much work in terms of getting the scripts ready, realizing some of it was kind of out of place, changing that, recording it, because the recording took an absolute freaking age to record all that, plus the editing. So I'm glad it's doing good numbers. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And we're getting there. You know, they are going to get better. Obviously, I've got more planned. It's a monthly kind of thing. They take so long to make that to even think of getting 2 out in a month is a stretch because the amount of work that goes into them. It's not like you see, like, it's mad, right? When you think about it like this, right? You do a documentary. That one was, what, 27, 28 minutes? For that amount of time, the amount of work that goes in it, I mean, it's actually quite crazy when you think about it. Big up the Jets. Yo, yo, yo. Anytime, mate. Anytime, man. Great guy, Jamie. A lot of time for Jamie. Great content creator as well. And just a great guy. Big up to Jamie every time. If you haven't, Punch Perfect Boxing. Becoming the go-to channel. Love your work. Thanks, Oscar, mate. Appreciate that. Man, I appreciate that. I hope you're keeping well, man. And I enjoy doing it, man. You know, that sort of way, like, it's... I don't know. It's just... I kind of know kind of what to do now at this stage with YouTube. It's just... We get the regular vids out, and then we kind of go from then on. And obviously, we're branching out. We're starting to do new things on the channel, and you know, we obviously have ExpressVPN who came on board, which is great. You know, it does help, but obviously, I'm still looking at going down the avenue and maybe getting some more sponsors on. However, I may do that. I haven't thought about that yet, but we'll look down that avenue because the more I can get away, the more full-time I can make this, and the less time I can spend doing other things, and the more time I can make to just dedicating it to this, which is the goal. Big up to Nell Mono. Big up, even to Sean Hodge Boxing. Big up to you, my man. I hope you're well. FFS, it's John. Evening, G, man. Yeah. That's why it'd be like when I hear people come bringing me sometimes, that'd be like, FFF, it's this guy. And big up to Andrew. Can we get an official prediction? I have a video coming out this weekend, official prediction. But what I will say is, it's coming home. Make it out what you will. And when I say it's coming home, that could mean either country, just so you know. G-Man, I got tickets for Joyce Parker. Can't wait. I'm hoping to get to that myself, man. I'm hoping to cover it. Obviously, I sent off a credentials already. Looks good. So hopefully I'll get over there. Manchester, I've already done a bit of pricing. Manchester's crazy cheaper than London. Like, it's not even, like, the same hotel that I stay in London is there in Manchester. It's already like 500 quid cheaper. It's crazy how much cheaper it is. And for longer, like, I didn't stay in that one in London for 4 nights. I stayed in it for 3 nights and 1 night in the Premier Inn. And it's still cheaper for the 5 nights, or for the 4 nights. Crazy. G-Man, question. I always wondered, are you from Kerry, Donegal, Ireland? Because you sound like you have that accent from that part. Definitely not. I don't think no, I've never been in Donegal in my life, man. Never in my life set foot in that county. I'm a dub, true and true. North Sider. Proper dub. Yeah, it was a good documentary, man. It was good. It was good fun. What do you think of the Conlon card? I got what I expected, to be honest with you. I mean, I had a fair idea. Conlon versus Mariaga wouldn't be amazing because it's Mick Conlon, you know, against Lee Wood with the right. It's almost like when you get someone at Mick Conlon's level, you have good fights. But when you bring it down a level, he's just going to try and outbox them. And that's exactly what it was. And, you know, Mariaga, when he fought guys like Walters, Lomachenko, and again, he got beat by those guys, but he had a bit more in the tank back then. This Mariaga just looked jaded. So, you know, can't really take much from it. As for the undercard, McKenna versus Jenkins, I mean, Chris Jenkins won that fight. He won that fight. Like, I mean, there's no ifs or buts. He knew. The saddest part is, and this is one of the worst parts about boxing, is that Chris Jenkins knew he won the fight, but he knew instantly once the bell went, he's not getting that nod. You could just tell by his body language. He was like, "I've won this fight, but I'm not getting the decision." He just knew, and that's sad. Like, it's sad in that way that, like, you've someone, you know, one guy won, you know, Jenkins won, and McKenna's had a few shaky decisions go his way. To be fair, I thought he beat O'Hara Davis, to be fair. But there's other fights where he's definitely lost, like that Mamidi fight a couple of years ago. He was barred from pillar to post in that fight. I don't know how he got the nod. So, yeah, that was a good fight. Podrick McCroy, that wasn't too bad. It wasn't a bad card. And do you think we'll get more cards in Ireland now? Tough to say, mate. It's tough to say. I mean, obviously, like in the Republic, unlikely. We are getting some boxing on terrestrial TV again in Ireland. Eric Donovan is fighting for a European title. He's fighting for a European title on the same day as Joyce Parker. So I won't watch that fight. And he's fighting up in Belfast. So we're definitely going to see more. Well, there's a lot more shows happening up in the north. But in the Republic, unlikely. I'd say it's pretty unlikely at this stage. I mean, boxing in Dublin has been... It's been on the decline for a while now, and, you know, put it like this, we haven't had a boxing show in Dublin in nearly 4 years. And before that, you were lucky to get 2-3 shows in Dublin a year. So it's not like you can blame the last 2 years and say that's why there's been no boxing in Ireland. It was dead before that. So I think with MTK, I've said it now, but I think with them guys no longer around, there's a better chance because there's a lot of, how do I say it? There are a lot of people who don't like MTK who aren't in boxing circles, if you know what I mean. You know, kind of, you ever watch Narcos and things like that? So there was always a risk with putting the show on, especially in an MTK show in Dublin. I mean, go Google 2016 Regency Hotel. That was a Frank Warren show, but it was with MTK, and I think it was Frank Warren anyway. And look what happened. You know, look what happened there. Type in Regency Hotel 2016, and you'll see why there's no shows in Dublin. Still so little promotion going for AJ. Yeah, it's a bizarre one, isn't it? There's very little. I mean, Eddie Hearn, Sky Sports should be bigging people like me, Chris Andre, Jamie up, because we're the ones doing more work for that fight than anyone else. You know, we're definitely doing way more for that fight than Sky. I know the Zone don't have it, so you don't expect them to really promote it, but nevertheless. Joe, G-Man, what do you expect Usyk to weight to be? He looks a bit bigger. I suspect around about between 226, 227. Just judging by what I've seen in the high 220s, no higher than that. I'm not saying yes or no. And believe me, I've learned my lesson from going for the underdogs in big fights. I learned that lesson the hard way against it. People still won't. People still comment about that Dylan White pick. I did it. I got it wrong. I've got some good picks too, and I still need to do a video on some of my worst picks. I still need to do a video on some of my worst picks in boxing because it's a great one to talk about, and it's a good, fun little video to talk about as well. And I still I haven't really thought about that, but I will do it. We will do it. Big up to Gman from Manchester. Big up. Looking to head over there for the Joyce Parker fight. Interview Joe Joyce again. Have him breaking a smile again. You know, I was delighted. I got laughs out of Joe Joyce. I was thinking, geez, I must be doing something right. I'm getting laughs out of him. G-Man, after Ortiz beat McKenson, who do you think he'll be fighting next? I'm looking at Keith Thurman or your Dennis Ugas. I see Thurman, I reckon, would look for big money. Ugas, maybe not. They may look to go down the Ugas road. I'm just trying to think who else there is. Wouldn't shock me, and I don't think this is a good idea, and I wouldn't like to see it, but it wouldn't shock me if they go down the road of fighting Avanesian. Just, I would say for De La Hoya, he'd do that just to spite Eddie Hearn. You know, De La Hoya would do that. You can tell, like, he would just bring Avanesian in there, let him get beat up by Ortiz. It serves Ortiz no purpose. He's a level above Avanesian. But he'd do it just to spite Eddie Hearn. Just to say, well, Conor Benn won't do it, but my guy will. The French guy who beat McKay, yeah, he was real. He beat Sam Egerton too. A meeting. He beat Sam Egerton at welterweight and then went back down to 140 pounds, beating for a European title. Keep up the great work, G-Man. You and Ade are killing it. As is my man Jamie. As is my man Jamie as well, as he says down there. So people, I think we got enough in the chat now. Where is it? Copy the clipboard. And in the comments, oh crap, can I not? Oh yeah, there we go. So, I obviously named this video G-Man and subscribers. So, there's a link. If anyone wants to come on, I don't do these often, right? I don't do these often. So, a quick one. If anyone's coming on, I'll try and individuals, right? 5 minutes, give or take at a time, preferably with your camera on. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's not a done deal that you have to have a camera on, but preferably if you could put your camera on, because I want to know what a couple of guys' thoughts are on this fight. And I don't mean just pick. I mean, tell me your reasons for it. So, link is there in the chat. Anyone wants to come on. Like I said, 5 minutes or so, hop on, and we'll have a little chat on it. I'll just unplug this, smash the other iPhone while I'm at it, and we're banging that.
Hey,
yes,
G-Man.
mate. How are we doing?
I'm watching you from the United States.
Whereabouts in the States, mate?
Florida.
Oh man, my state. That's the state I want to go to. That is the
Hey,
state I want to
G-Man,
go to.
I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Do you, I said this in the chat. I honestly feel that AJ going to Robert Garcia is a huge mistake because Robert doesn't really have the history of training the heavyweight division, and in general, that style is not gonna, in my honest opinion, that style doesn't work for the heavyweights because, in general, the heavyweight division tends to have a horrible gas tank. They get tired by the 12th round. Do you see that yourself, or am I being harsh on AJ and Robert?
I'll be honest with you, mate. You're pretty much echoing what I've been saying. Robert Garcia, no experience with heavyweights. If you're getting your first taste of heavyweight with a heavyweight champion of the world, former champion, going into the biggest fight of his career with that style, which you've worked well from kind of bantamweight up to say like light middle, I can't see it working with AJ personally, mate. I could be wrong. I'm always open to be proven wrong, but I'm struggling. I can't see it working.
So back to the Virgil thing. Did you think Eddie would spite Oscar would spite Eddie? Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't be shocked if he did. He seems that type of character. He would do that. He just strikes me as that type of character. He would do that just to say, well, my guy will fight, but Conor Benn won't. He's always looking for little subtle digs at Eddie Hearn.
Yeah. And for me, when it comes to this Conor Benn, Eubank's fight, honestly, Connor is not as good as people make him out to be. To be honest, he's not as
No.
talented as like people say. I was on other channels or other what's it called, boards talking about boxing, and
Panels, yeah.
Connor they said Connor Benn would knock out Virgil. I'm like,
No,
what?
not going to happen. Conor
And
Benn is improved. That's about it.
Connor, for me, Connor and Chris are living off their father's legacies. To be honest, they just got into the sport because of their fathers. To be honest, that's what happened. They're exactly like Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Basically, they're
Oh,
at the
man,
same.
he's bad.
No, but you understand what I'm saying. They're living
I
off the
100%.
yeah, and
That name opens doors, but it's. I'll tell you
Connor
this.
is
I know.
what people are saying. What sickens me, people are saying he's gonna be better than his father. I'm like,
No,
what are you guys smoking?
not a hope, man. That's not going to happen. He is not going to be better than Nigel. Nigel is an absolute legend, and he always will be. Connor,
and they said the same thing
Chris,
about Chris too when he first started boxing. Chris Jr.
better than Mayweather. They said better than Mayweather.
No,
Senior
they
said.
said he was going to be better than his father, Senior Chris Eubank Senior.
Senior said.
No.
What's supposed?
No. Fans of Chris Jr. said he was going to be better than his father.
Well, how's that going? IBO title. Yeah, we love that. It's like an intercontinental title.
Hey, what's your opinion on that fight with that fight at 150, not 154 at 150 at 112 with El Gallo versus Sonny Edwards? Do you think Sonny has a chance, or do you think El Gallo destroys him? No.
No. I give
El Rey.
Sonny a chance.
No, El Rey versus El Rey. My mistake.
Martinez, yeah, and Edwards. I give Edwards a good chance. I tell you why. Look at Andrew Selby versus Martinez. Andrew Selby is a pound shop version of Sonny Edwards, and the success he had before he got stopped. Sonny Edwards can do that as well, but better, and not get tagged with body shots.
You don't. But I noticed Sonny tends to be weak in the body, like his he, and with how hard El Rey hits to the body, that's not good. And
no.
I want you to answer this question. With Virgil and at the same age, who's a more devastating body puncher, him or Triple G? Just body punching alone.
Oh man, that's
at the same point of their careers. At the same point in their careers.
I might even just hedge towards Virgil. Triple G started going to the body kind of more when he came into his prime, in his 30s, so to speak.
Oh, he wasn't a big body puncher in his 20s, really?
He started going to the body more kind of when he got into his prime. If you look at the early Triple G, he would switch up to head and body, but he's primarily head hunting.
Oh, okay. He was a headhunter, not a body puncher. He
just smash you up.
Or like a David Benavidez, where they strictly go to the body first, then go to the head. They weaken that. Honestly, and this is what I hate when people like. I'm a Virgil Ortiz fan. I understand that people don't like that style that he does because he doesn't have footwork. But in general, that come forward style doesn't rely on footwork. Do you agree? Like in general, that type of style, like that come forward, barrage type style that Virgil and David Benavidez and Canelo have, tend not to rely on footwork compared to a natural boxer like a Haney or.
Not necessarily, but for the most part, no. And you see that early with Canelo, how flat-footed he used to be and how slow-footed he used to be. It can be improved, definitely, but not necessarily with your footwork.
That's what pisses me off, that people are comparing Virgil to Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. No. In terms of his footwork, when they're not Devin and Shakur are natural boxers. They're boxer punchers, guys who can hit you, but they rely more on their boxing skills. That's what makes me mad. They're comparing two different styles and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't think Virgil would go for Ugas first or for Keith Thurman?
Yeah, no, I would say out of the two, I could see Ugas going first, just because I think Keith Thurman would want too much money for it, personally.
Yeah, there's no way in my honest opinion, there is no way in hell Keith Thurman fights these two young guys without getting paid $10 million, which
Crazy
Keith
money.
is not worth. Keith is
Crazy
not worth
money.
that right now. Do you agree?
No, man. He needs a couple more wins before we can start taking Keith serious.
Do you think Fedor is ready for Charlo at 154?
No, I still not convinced on Fondora yet, mate. I'm still not convinced on him. Yeah, he's big, he's strong, but I'm still not convinced. Charlo would be a bridge too far at this point.
Yeah, no, and I like Fedor, but that's just a freak of nature. There's no way. He's the same height as the Klitschko, right? Isn't he the same height as Vladimir and Vitaly?
Slightly smaller, just smaller, slightly smaller.
But like, who? Even after he dominated Lubin, you don't think he's ready?
I'd still give him another fight and see. Give him another kind of that level opponent and see how he gets on. Maybe a Tony Harrison or someone like that.
At 154?
At 154. 100%.
Yeah, no, but with how he fights, don't you think that would cause serious issues on for a Charlo, though, being that Charlo?
Maybe early on, but I could see Charlo getting around that and lighting this guy up in the end.
Constantly a guy that big bearing down on you constantly can cause serious issues because he's that's the issue with Fondor. He doesn't use his reach. He needs to go to a trainer. I don't think his trainer is teaching him how to use his reach correctly. Do you agree with me, G-Man? Like the trainer's
100%, really... man. I mean, like you're that tall, you need to use your gifts, and reach is your gift, reach is your advantage.
When you look at him, what's his max weight in your honest opinion? Where do you think he can max out?
Super middle, give or take. He has probably the frame to go super middle.
I was gonna say cruiser maybe.
Nah, I'd say super middle, maybe light heavy at a push.
Oh, you think super cruiserweight is too much?
Too much, bridge too far, definitely.
Though,
just in my opinion,
even though his size, his height, actually says that he can. But you don't think his body, like his actual body,
I don't think his frame. That way. I don't think his frame would take it that way. No.
Yeah, when I look at him, he reminds me. I'm not sure if you agree with this comparison a little bit. He reminds me a little bit of Tommy Hearns, kind of, because Tommy was very, very lean in the middle. It looked like he went up to middleweight, and that's where he maxed out, like super middleweight and stuff like that. That's where Tommy Hearns maxed out, really. And I don't think that's what Sebastian is kind of like, in a sense. Like his body is like a Tommy Hearns, where he's very skinny in the middle. Do you see that with
mate? That's exactly how I see him. That's why I don't think he'll go up any further, mate. Sorry to cut in front of you there, but I got like 5 or 6 people waiting to come into the chat. I appreciate you locking in, man. It's been some fun questions. I don't think I'm kicking you out, but I've got like 6 people in the backstage ready to come on.
I'm good. Have a good day.
You too, mate. All the best. Shout out in Florida. Okay, let's bring on our next guests. I think I clicked on the... Sorry to Ben, I was going to click on you first, but Dale, big up to you, man. How are you keeping?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
Anytime, man. Good, man. Good. What do you think of this fight? AJ Usyk. How are you?
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually at work. I've got about 5 minutes only, so I'll be quick.
No worries, mate.
I've been thinking about it a lot, for probably a couple of months now. I think obviously Joshua, I would write him off totally if it wasn't for the fact he's got punch. He's got a fight-changing punch power. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. As we saw with, say, Povetkin. The trouble is, for me, if he lands a punch, it kind of takes him into a dangerous territory for him. Because I think his 2 biggest weaknesses are gassing himself out and his chin. So if he lands good on Usyk, you can pretty much guarantee there'll be a firefight happening. Usyk may run around for a bit, but I just think even if he lands big, he's then got to go into an area where he's. You think of Klitschko, he should have had him out of there. Ruiz got him out of there.
Pulev, when he heard Pulev, he needed rounds off after exerting himself.
Yeah, so it's going to be such a good win for Joshua if he pulls this off. I mean, because
it will be tremendous. Are you picking Joshua to win?
No, I'm picking Usyk. I'd say 60-40. 60-40. Because Joshua, he's no slouch, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not as good as Usyk, but and he has that power. I just need to see him land that power, really, and what happens next.
In terms of weights, people talking about Usyk coming in heavy. What about Joshua? Because all of the people after he lost were saying too light. Now, I think that's a mistake. I think lighter. Andre Ward even said it, lighter. But what do you think? Do you think
Andre Ward doesn't like the muscle. He's always going on about that. I think keep the muscle off, because you need that gas. You need as much gas as you can get. So unless he can tack on mass, it's just not possible, is it? So
no,
I think he's naturally powerful. I don't think he needs muscle. He needs oxygen in his lungs. That's what he needs.
I think AJ listens to too many people. I think instead of doing what he wants to do, because he wanted Angel Fernandez. That was who he announced as a trainer. And then all of a sudden, I think a few people might have said, you need more than that. And then we get Garcia. Yeah. And he maybe just thought...
that's what I mean. Decisions like that, where it's like they might have just brought in Robert Garcia just to appease some kind of media fan base or whatever. Yeah, his head's not in the right place, is it? Let's be honest. He's no. You know what? He has had a lot of pressure on his shoulders.
And even more in this fight
match room, carrying DAZN now. The whole nation, like he said once, everybody expects me to go in there and bang everyone out. And I think he convinced himself at one point he could do that. But the reality is he's someone who's not been boxing as long as a lot of them. And, at the top level, you can't win every fight. Not everybody can.
It doesn't matter who you are. If you fight the best, you're going to lose. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. So fair play. I mean, you know what? Hearn talks about how give him credit for taking the fight, but he didn't really have much of a way out of that fight, to be honest.
No,
back
it was
year,
a real.
I think they did try to get out of it. Actually,
I don't know. I think that with AJ, he was fully intent on going in, as was Hearn, because I get the impression maybe they feel as though, maybe Team Hearn cynically feels as though, where if he loses to someone other than Usyk, and it's not, say, Fury, if we rehab him, we put him in there with someone, and maybe he gets chinned, we're rightly screwed. At least if he loses to Usyk, we'll get a big payday. Yeah.
Was there a possibility of Fury taking it, and then maybe AJ could have trained with Garcia for a bit and fought Fury or something?
I think there was talk at Christmas about money, step aside money, and that's one of the interviews where I was like, AJ's head's not right, when he said, no mention of step aside. And then he said literally 180 and said, but we consider it if it was the right amount. And then he kind of was caught. He knew he contradicted himself, so he was trying to kind of correct it in the interview with Coogan, because he knew at 1 minute he said it, and then the next minute he said the opposite.
That interview is infamous now with with the hardcores for just showing where Joshua's at. You know what I mean? It's a lot. It's a lot to be beaten so publicly. Not many people have as much media and stuff around. I noticed on a few podcasts I listen to and stuff, the Boxing Asylum I listen to, whenever Joshua fights, everybody comes out to listen, all the regular people who talk on it. He attracts everybody, man. He's a massive star. I've got to go anyway, but what I would say is, there's a lot of good fights for Joshua if he loses. I hope he doesn't hang them up.
It's not the end.
Far from he keeps going. Yeah, there's many good fights really for him.
Loads. Dylan White, all them.
All of them. Wilder. That would be amazing.
Tremendous.
I've got to go anyway, man. I'm still at work here, but thanks for having me on, G, man.
Anytime, man. Hope you have a good one. Enjoy your shift.
See you later, mate.
See you later, mate. Right. Ben's been waiting for ages to come on. What's the crack? How are you, man?
Good. Yourself? Good to be on. How you doing? You all right?
Anytime, mate. Good, man. Good. So we're what, 2 weeks away?
2 weeks away, and there's something I want to talk about this fight, which hasn't been covered, and I have a slightly different take on this fight, or at least a different take on what happened in the first fight, okay?
Okay.
Well, the common narrative for this is that AJ got it tactically wrong. He tried to have a technical boxing match with Usyk, and he got well beaten, and this time he'll be aggressive, put it on him. But I don't think that's what happened. I think what actually happened was I think AJ tried to pressurize Usyk. If you listen to what Rod McCracken is telling him in the corner, he says smart pressure, smart pressure. So he tried to pressure him behind the jab. And what happened was Usyk took his jab away from him, southpaw stance, and once the jab was gone, there's nothing he could do. So the idea that AJ went out to have a technical boxing match with him, it just didn't happen. It was a technical brilliance. Why didn't people just lay it on Floyd Mayweather or Terence Crawford or Lomachenko? When you're dealing with a master craftsman, very, very difficult. And by the way, Usyk punches harder than what people think. And
I've been saying that for the longest time.
One of the reasons that AJ wasn't more aggressive with him was he didn't like what was coming back the other way. Now,
100%.
The only real tactical adjustment I think he can make is if he just goes hell for leather and just goes for it for the first 3 rounds. And that is super risky because, okay, he's got a chance of knocking him out. But if he doesn't do it, A, he could get countered himself. But B, he'll be gassed and the fight will be over within 6 or 7 rounds if that happens. So I actually think this fight will be a mirror image of the first one. I think AJ will go out to pressure him, won't be able to do it. And I see it playing out similar. The only difference actually is I think Usyk might be more aggressive later on. And Usyk, I think, has got the power, the confidence, to stop him. And I think Usyk fancies the job. But I think it's a wide Usyk points win or a late stoppage. And incidentally, AJ can't rely on hometown judging. He got a bit lucky on scorecards last time, even though he lost. He still, those scorecards, were pretty generous. So, but
they were insane.
I've been disappointed with the analysis and people not really picking up on this. AJ tried to pressure him. He just couldn't do it.
You see, what you say there is interesting because you see in the mid to late rounds, kind of more mid rounds, when AJ was trying to roughhouse Usyk, and Usyk instantly knew when the arm went over him, kind of moved back towards the ropes, took your chin in, looking for an uppercut. So even when he, as you say, he tried to, Usyk had something in his pocket, he's trying to do this, instantly I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. If you knew nothing about those two boxers and you saw that fight and you'd never seen him before, you'd have said Usyk was the puncher. Usyk was the one getting reactions, so he was snapping his head back.
He stumbled AJ a few times. Like the third round was when he landed the first clean left.
3 or 4 times. So, and even, AJ is not, if you look at AJ the last year or two, or 3 or 4 years, he's not a one-punch knockout guy the way he's early on in his career or the way Wilder is. So he hit with Pulev with loads of shots before he stopped him. Carlos Takam, loads of shots. The Povetkin one was a reasonably quick and abrupt stoppage, but he's more of an attritional fighter now. He's more of a volume guy. He's not a one-punch, although he's a powerful guy. He's not a one-punch. Unless he really, really catches Usyk clean. I don't see him. I don't see him winning, and I think, as I say, I think it's a wide points or a late stoppage for Usyk.
I tend to concur with that. I do think, though, there are certain little tricks AJ can do in this rematch to try and help him. I think that you look at some of Usyk's, if there are weaknesses, I know he can adjust, but earmuffs on, uppercut, southpaw stance, or orthodox stance to a southpaw. That's a great little shot to have. Jab to the body, like the way he slowed Povetkin down. Things like that, he negated. I'm not saying he'll win if he does that, but I do think that it gives him a little bit more of a chance to have a bit more success.
Okay, look, he's got a puncher's chance, okay? But don't forget, Usyk's the one with the high IQ, not AJ. Usyk's the one to be making adjustments. Usyk will learn more from the first fight than AJ will.
Definitely.
So, you know, when you saw Cater thinks AJ can do better, you think Usyk's not going to be learning stuff as well.
The 12th round, I think, told us that Usyk could have done that a lot earlier.
Yeah.
But he just chose not to. It's simple. He chose not. He put that on the 12th round. And who's to say that Usyk isn't even 100%? That could be a 75 Usyk% in terms of what he gave that night. So if we see Usyk 90-95, God knows what we might see.
Yeah. All right, mate, I've got to duck out, but look, great to be on the show. Appreciate it.
Man, anytime. Appreciate having you on, man. Appreciate it.
Man.
All the best, man.
Cheers.
Okay. Let's get Jake on. I don't think I hit Jake. Sorry about that, mate. I think I hit someone else, but big up. What's the crack, Jimmy?
I'm good, mate. How's it going?
How's it going, man? Good. 2 weeks away. What do you think?
I think that the commentary and the talk around AJ has been really unfair. The last guy you had on, he mentioned about Usyk's IQ being high, and I'll give you that. But I think people underrate AJ's boxing IQ. He's shown the ability to go in there with people who we understand have good boxing ability and deliver. In terms of the Pulev fight, he outboxed him completely. And I take on board what the last guy mentioned about AJ needing a few shots to stop him, but I don't even think that was the best version of AJ. I think that was an AJ in second or third gear, and he outboxed him. He was showing things like cashing in counters. He was seeing shots early. He was putting his shots together well. He really should have got the stoppage in the third round. I don't know. Pulev turned his back, and AJ should really have got the stoppage in the third. I think. But I was at AJ Usyk 1, and full disclosure, I'm an AJ fan, but I had it 4-4 after 8. I think Chris Andre had it the same as well. I think where AJ really lost the fight was in the final third of the fight. I think Usyk picked up the pace and he went away with it, and AJ didn't have answers in terms of what Usyk was dishing up. But I think people saying AJ's got a puncher's chance and stuff like that, I think it's ridiculous, because he's a man who's beaten some of the best opposition he can do. He's got a better resume in terms of through and through than the likes of Wilder, the likes of Fury, and I think people aren't given the respect he's due.
Okay. Do you think he's going to win this fight coming up, or do you think that it's going to be rinse and repeat? Honest question, like objectively honest question.
Good question. My heart says AJ, my head says Usyk, but I don't think it's as surefire as people are making out. I think I watched the Chris Andre video about physically what AJ was able to do in there, and I think you mentioned it earlier a bit, G-Man, about AJ positioning his left hand behind the neck of Usyk. And if you watch the video Chris Andre put up, Usyk wants to get out of there frantically. He can't. He physically doesn't have the strength to get away from AJ. And I think AJ, being the naturally bigger man, I think using his physicality and making it a dirty fight is where AJ wins. When Chisora made it dirty against Usyk, he had success. And I think maybe AJ's got to learn a bit about the dark arts and maybe make the referee earn his money in the fight. And sorry, go for it.
No, I was going to say, I agree with you. If you look at the early rounds of Chisora versus Usyk, when Chisora was really pushing Usyk back, Chisora had his best rounds early on in that fight. The one thing I said about that is that stamina-wise, do you think AJ, if he can't get rid of Usyk and he employs them tactics, do you think that stamina-wise that could be an issue?
Good question. I think if he employs those tactics throughout the fight, yes. But we've also seen AJ pick up a second wind in the Klitschko fight. He looked good for the first couple of rounds, and then he dropped off in the mid-rounds, but then picked it up again towards the end of the fight. I think he's going to have to be really economical with when he applies pressure, when he uses his physicality. And I think, I don't know if, I think I heard Chris Andre talk about this, or it might have been yourself, but employing wrestling and using your weight advantage to lean on Usyk and make it a grueling, tiring fight is something I think he has to do. I think he's got to, do the
Lennox
nasty.
Lewis, Mike Tyson.
Exactly. Yeah, I think he's got to take away. I think he's got to use his size. I think he's got to lean on Usyk. I think he's got to make it a dirty fight. In a boxing fight, in a boxing contest, we've seen Usyk as a superior boxer. Usyk's got the amateur pedigree. Usyk's a gold medalist like himself. Usyk's a southpaw. We get it. He's talented, but I think physically, AJ's got to make those traits count. And I think people who write off AJ and say he's this, he's that, just need to take a look at his resume. And maybe, people might disagree and think, he's not the same fighter who he was. But I think he's come along leaps and bounds. He's demonstrated the ability to as much as Usyk was the better boxer, he managed to box with him, and people gave him rounds. I think you gave him a few rounds as well. So
I gave him 3 rounds, yeah.
Yeah, he can't be this terrible boxer with just a puncher's chance when he's been able to get in there with Usyk, and in my opinion, performed the best in versus Usyk in the heavyweight division.
There's a few things you said that interest me, right? So obviously you correctly pointed out the fact that AJ, yes, he's fatigued in fights before, but he's come back strong, like against Klitschko.
Mm-hmm.
The difference I say about that is that Klitschko is a naturally cautious fighter.
Mm-hmm.
But with Usyk, if Usyk sees AJ is potentially starting to fatigue, if he doesn't pace himself correctly, I don't see Usyk hurting AJ and just being content to box. I think we saw a bit of that in the 12th round, and I think that he may look to do something similar in this fight if he gets the chance to just go for it. So do you think that that's a risk then as well with AJ? Because again, if he fatigues himself, it's not going to be Klitschko, who is a naturally cautious fighter. Do you see potentially, again, that backfiring? Potentially?
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% spot on. And that's why I think it's about calculated pressure. I think it's not about going hell for leather for the first 4, taking the next 4 off and then coming strong in the last 4. I think it's about calculated pressure. And I think I watched a video you covered about Buatsi versus Richards, and you mentioned that Buatsi was fighting in like almost 2-minute bursts and like winning the round, banking the round, and then taking a minute off. And I think something similar for AJ. We know he's got all that muscle, all that lactic acid buildup. He needs to employ a clever strategy and bank rounds. And I think the last guy mentioned about AJ not having home field advantage. We know that Eddie Hearn and the Saudis, they have a relationship. If the world wants one person to win this fight, it's probably AJ, because it sets up the AJ Fury fight. And I'm not saying, sorry, go for it, mate.
I was gonna say, you say the world. I mean, with the way the world virtue signaling galore, look where Usyk's from.
That's true. That's true. But I think if we're all right, maybe the world was the wrong word for me. But in terms of where the financial decision makers, who the financial decision makers want to win this fight, we know if Warren, well, I don't know about fish eyes, but Arum, Fury, AJ, Hearn, we everyone wants AJ to win this fight because it sets up, one of the biggest fights, probably the biggest fight in British boxing history. I think. And I think people talk about an AJ and talk about him losing his head, but mate, and I know you're going to say Tyson Fury, this is him, but he's never in a right state of mind. And I think it's the pressure that comes with being the world heavyweight champion. You're going to say things that contradict yourself. You have a camera in your face every second, every day, irrespective of how you feel, and these things are going to happen sometime.
I think with Fury, like if he ever said the same thing twice in the interview, I'd be starting to think, what's wrong with him? Because he says it so often, mate. That it's so often he contradicts himself. It's crazy. Honestly,
why does he get away with it? Like boxing hardcores call him out about it, but like the casuals, I've got mates who are casuals and they're Fury fans, and yeah, I'm an AJ fan, so they have the one up on me. But like it's like they choose to ignore the contradictions that the man gives. He mentioned about wanting to fight 500 mil to fight AJ. Then he mentioned it being on terrestrial TV, fighting for free, and that's the only.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, that kind of. I think that to me was kind of a subtle hint that this is who I really want to win, and I don't want Usyk. Not in a sense of he's afraid of him, but in a sense of he has his favorite. He knows who he wants, and that to me, that was what that was. That was kind of as big a hint without saying it as you could get.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you.
Last question before I get Jake on. I give you a £5 for a bet. You have to put it on AJ or Usyk, and the method of victory. Who are you putting it on? Objectively speaking, who are you putting it on?
AJ contentious points victory.
There you go.
One question before I go.
Yeah, sure.
Do you think Conor Benn wins a world title?
No. Short answer. No. Not unless not in welterweight. It's like a revolving door of good fighters.
Even with the two guys at the top, say they move to 54 or they retire or whatever, do you think Eddie Hearn could position him to win a title against it? Do you think that is even in scope?
No. I think that you have Staniones, Boots Ennis, you've got guys coming up from 140. I can't see it, mate, personally. And as I said, it's like a revolving door. There's always going to be good fighters at welterweight. They always churn them out. I can't see it. I could be, if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to say it, but I can't see it.
Fair enough. Appreciate you having me on, G-Man. Keep it going.
Anytime, mate. All the best, man.
Cheers.
Yes, mate. How are you doing? How are you keeping? Sorry about the wait.
Sorry, can you hear me okay?
Hear you fine. Sorry about the wait.
Okay. No, don't worry about it, mate. Not a problem. There's a pre should be on the channel.
Where are you? Are you on a train?
No, I'm actually in an airport. I'm in Texas. I was in Mexico visiting a girlfriend, so this popped up. So like, oh, so I'll kill a few hours before the flight.
Hey man, I'm killing time. Why not? Why not?
Yeah,
That's good for
definitely.
me, man. Killing time. So, questions. 2 weeks away. AJ Usyk, massive rematch. We're all looking forward to it. Who do you have and why?
So the thing that's annoying me the most is that, I'm not saying that everyone says, oh, just AJ needs to lay it on a little bit thicker. He needs to bully him. I think people forget in the first fight there was 60,000 fans. Now, percentage-wise, let's say 98% of those for AJ. Within the first 60 seconds, Usyk had already found his range and he was already pointing off AJ, and that was in front of 60,000 fans. Another thing I think people forget is if you look at the cruiserweight now compared to 2017 or 2018, they were killers in that division. Usyk went to Latvia, he went to Russia, he went to Poland, he beat Marco Huck in Germany, he beat Michael Hunter in America, he went to Manchester and fought Tony Bellew. No one has ever done that. I mean, he went to Russia to fight Gassiev and then Bradis in Latvia. These were legit unbeaten world champions, and he went in then won on points quite easily. And then now he's going to fight AJ again. This guy just doesn't thrive off pressure. Now, don't get me wrong, I like AJ. I think he's done great wonders for British boxing. The best example I use is that look at the pubs. Every single time an AJ fight on, the pub is absolutely rammed. Okay, everyone is involved in
It's
an
like
AJ
that in
fight.
Ireland too.
Exactly,
It's literally like that. He's brought that to Ireland as well.
Exactly,
You get AJ fighting in Ireland, it's like pubs full, rampant.
100%, yeah. It's not like even a football event. Even if there was like a cup final on, it's busy, but it's nothing like that. I can remember when even for Andy Ruiz, and I went to because I'm from Newcastle, when a local pub, and it was ram. He brings it out. So don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these AJ hitters, but people just have to appreciate how good Usyk is. I can remember when he fought Derek Chisora, and you had all the casual fans on Sky Sports comments saying, "Oh, he's only beat Tony Bellew." Well, he fought Gassiev, who must have been a top pound for pound at the time. He fought Brady, who was in his prime. It's crazy. And again, he went to these countries, and it's not like just going to America. He's going to that generally backyard where they're from.
Backyard, basically, yeah.
Yeah, totally not under pressure at all. I mean, imagine he's from Ukraine and he's going over to Russia to fight Gassiev in 2018 like it was nothing. And again, he just accepts it.
He has the mindset that I don't think I've ever seen in a fighter, where it seems like nothing phases him. And interesting you say, right, 60,000 fans in London scream for AJ.
Yeah.
There'll be 15, 20,000 in Saudi, dead quiet because there's no alcohol. You think that will actually favour Usyk because it's going to be pretty quiet?
Yeah, of course. Like I said, he's not bothered. And, again, I've got no doubt this fight will be probably more competitive, but everyone keeps saying that AJ. I think the example I use is that I remember when they were talking about Usyk and Joe Joyce, and everyone keeps talking about, but Joe Joyce has really improved from the amateurs, and it's like, what? Because he's beat the Stavern and
Dubois.
the bar, and it was Takam, and it was like, well, okay, but then Usyk hasn't improved, and Usyk again constantly keeps stepping up. And another example, I think I seen on Sky Sport today saying he's looking bulkier. Is not going to slow him down. Against AJ, that was one of the fastest I'd seen him. He was far faster than he was against Tony Bellew, and he was far faster when he fought Derek Chisora. And that was him probably putting an extra stone and a half. So again, people are just forgetting. It's like, okay, AJ can do this, AJ can do that. But then Usyk, again, is just going to up it again.
I go back to the days when he fought in the World Series of Boxing. That was at super heavyweight. They do it in kilos. If you look at the kilos he was weighing, he was about 217. So if you think now he's 225, that's only 8 pounds. It's not like he's put on 20 odd pounds. His last fight he was 209, now he's 220 or 232. It's not like that. You're talking maybe 8 pounds. It's nothing really when you're not, especially when you're not cutting. It's just more your natural.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I didn't see there. He looked so quick. Anytime AJ had him, he counter punched them. He timed every punch, and he knew exactly when AJ was coming. And again, another thing is when people are like, well, every time AJ got close to him, it was hurting him. People were saying that he was more bruised than AJ. But I mean, if you look at the other way, every time Usyk hit him with his left hook, AJ went flying across the ring about 3 times.
He marked up easier, yes, but AJ was the one who was noticeably hurt, more properly buzzed in the fight than Usyk was, definitely.
Yeah, again, like I said, don't get me wrong. I pray to God. I mean, I'm more of a Fury fan. I mean, maybe not in the past weeks from the stuff he's been coming out with. But we want that fight to happen because I mean you got to think about it. Again, I don't care what anyone says. This is the biggest sporting event in British history, bigger than probably when England won the World Cup in '66.
That's a claim.
Huge. Oh, I think it is. Has to be. Like everyone will be talking about this, and you'll never ever see this again. So surely everyone wants this to happen. But at the same time, you've got to understand that what we're seeing right now is complete greatness from a fighter. Where again, if he beats AJ comfortably, it's like you've got to start talking about how good this guy actually is.
If he beats AJ, and let's say hypothetically, Fury fight happens, he beats Fury. We really got to, and he retires after that. We really have to have him in a conversation as ATGs in that list, in that bracket,
100%,
because he's not doing this with easy divisions. It's not like someone who's been undisputed with an easy division, a bit like Charlo. No offense to him, but the 154-pound isn't the strongest. It's not. There's some good fights. It's not the strongest, but that cruiserweight division back then was just on fire.
Yeah, 100%. Completely agree. And again, it's the same thing. The way I look at it is kind of like the Canelo one where he fights champion after champion. I think that, I mean, I could be wrong. I think that's kind of the last of the era where you want world champions. Every fight is champion after champion. But Usyk kind of did that where he fought, I think it was 4 world champions he fought in the cruiserweight before he came undisputed. And again, it's like, look at the cruiserweight division now. You've got 4 world champions.
And even the wins, exactly, the 2 title defenses before the Super Series, Hunter and Machunu. Look how well they've aged, and look at the job Usyk did on both of them. Yeah,
and then you look at, like, for example, what Usyk did to Michael Hunter in America, and then look at what Michael Hunter moved up to heavyweight, and then look what he did to Povetkin. That had just flattened Price and beat Hugo Fury. It's just the complete different levels. I mean, don't get me wrong, I hope AJ does do it. Personally, I just can't see it happening unless Garcia's done some sort of miracle. But in my mind, I can't see AJ actually. I just can't see Usyk losing. I can't actually pitch that in my mind.
Neither. It was weird. I had that feeling going into the last fight. Even when you saw him walk into it was when he did that ring walk. Something just clicked in me and said he's not losing tonight.
No.
When I seen that, he's not losing.
And then I'll give AJ some credit. I know a few people sit on here. It's like I'm not going to sit and criticize, and everyone's like, "Oh, he has to retire after that." He's losing to a pound for pound. Of course, he's losing to a pound for pound great, but by a mile. I mean, if you take Canelo out of the situation, and then it's like he's losing to, like you said, in 10, 15 years to come, you could be looking at one of the greatest fighters of our generation. So again, there's no fault in that at all.
Okay, last question, right? I give you, so I said the last time, I'm going to say it to you, I give you £5 and I say, Jake, bet and slip, method of victory, who do you have, objectively speaking?
I think what's going to happen is I think the first few rounds will be kind of Usyk taking a little bit of control. Then I think Joshua's going to come out aggressive, and I think he is going to hurt Usyk. But then I think when he realizes that he's going to hurt him, but not enough to actually knock him down, and then I think that's when Usyk's going to come on the attack. And then I think he will knock Joshua out this time. But again, I think that's because Joshua will get everything he has. He realizes it's not going to phase him, and then Usyk will go for the kill.
He's going to go out on his shield, you think?
I think so. I mean, I still see it happening. I think AJ will be like, I've got to go for this just to say people didn't do a repeat of the last time. But then I just think it won't be enough. It will hurt him, but again, not enough to get the stoppage or the win. And then Usyk will come, and then either the gas tank will go, or possibly he will. I don't think he'll completely knock him out. I just think it'll be that Joshua will give it everything. Because I mean, last time you could see, Joshua's an athlete. He's the perfect all-round athlete. But then look at him in the 12th round. He was absolutely gassing. That's just because, again, Usyk was just completely making him work like that.
And mentally, that's the last thing I want to say before I finish up. Yep. One thing that I don't think enough of us have talked about, the angles that Oleksandr Usyk gave Joshua. And we see it in the fight when he's moving around. That's mentally fatiguing, not physically. Yep. And that will lead you to get tired. And I could see that happening again.
Exactly, it could be draining. It could be like all sports. It's like if you think back to when Mo Farah was in his prime, when he used to run against in the Olympics, all the runners, it must have been mentally draining about how hard they were pushing around the track. And then they knew that he had in his mindset when he was going to get to go in the final lap. And it must be the same with Usyk, that you're giving everything. You're trying.
And there's more left.
Yeah, and he's just sitting. He's just constantly moving up the levels. And I think Tony Bellew said that as well.
Yeah.
When he was saying he was giving it his performance of his career. After winning a world title, beating David Haye twice, and he said it wasn't doing anything. It was draining. Literally,
what was draining. But last thing, this was just announced, so people in the chat, when you hear this, announced Chris Eubank Jr. will face Conor Benn at a catchweight October 8th, 02 in London. Just broke in the last 5 minutes.
Is that actually confirmed, or is that just...
See if you can see that there.
Oh, well, okay. I have two opinions on that. One, I think, don't get me wrong, when it comes around to that week, you know, of course I'm going to be excited. You know what I mean? You have to be excited for this, especially if if you know them. But the second thing is, I'm not buying the whole thing about Eddie Hearn. This is one of the biggest British fights of all time. How does he define that when Conor Benn, I could name 10 welterweights that would knock him out easy, which isn't his fault. Don't get me wrong. He's in probably one of the hardest divisions by a mile.
And that's exactly what I said.
Yeah, and then you've got Chris Eubank, who again, he's never beaten a world champion. He's beaten James DeGale, who was completely finished. And then
that was horrible.
And even the middleweight division now, it's not great, to be honest. There's 5 people in there who I think could beat him. So they've got to stop all this. It's one of the greatest fights. But I mean, I'll appreciate, because let's be honest, I think some of the big fights in the UK, besides Fury White, and I'm not counting Amir Khan and Kell Brook, it hasn't been great in Britain. We're not the centre of attention of boxing by a long shot. So I think it'll be nice to have some sort of grudge on grudge match. It's not like 2018 or 2017, so I think let's take what we can get. Like,
all I can say is I'm glad I didn't book any accommodation in Manchester, because that's 2 weeks after Joyce Parker.
Yeah.
And I prefer London, so I might go to that one instead.
No, 100%. Yeah. Well, enjoy it, mate. Thanks very much for coming to the channel, mate.
Appreciate coming on. Enjoy. Safe trip as well.
Cheers, G-Man. See you, mate.
See you, mate. So we pick up from there. Well, I'm not going to end it, because obviously we got to talk about this. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. We obviously got to talk about this. That fecked up the screen. Wait to see. So, people, Eubank, Benn, catch weight. Not specifying their catch weight. I'll do a video on it, of course, after this. But Eubank, Benn. Oh, boy. That's crazy. You know, they talked about it. They teased it. The contracts and all that kind of stuff came about. What do we say? I mean, for Conor Benn, I don't see him winning. But at the end of the day, is it really going to hurt him going up 2 weight divisions? Not really, in terms of his namesake or anything like that. But Eubank Jr., I mean, if he doesn't beat the living crap out of Conor Benn early, that's going to look real bad on him. That's going to look real bad on him. It didn't specify the catch weight, mate. Didn't specify it. So we don't know. I'm going to look into it and then get a video out. Yeah, 178 in the building. Lads, I've had guests on for the last half hour. So I haven't asked anyone if they could smash the like button. So if you could help your boy out, smash the like button. I would much appreciate that. That was good fun having all the lads on. 74 likes. Not too bad. Not too bad. We had good fun there having the lads on. I got to do more things like this. Let's see. Lost respect for Benn now. You can kind of see why he takes it, to be fair, though, mate. I mean, like, there's literally no one's going to really criticize him too much when he loses. I don't think he's going to win. But I just can't. It's just a bizarre one to me. I wouldn't pay to watch Benn Eubank. I definitely watch the reruns on YouTube or Stream Team. Stream Team is always there. God almighty, there's a lot of questions. And big up to Nick, by the way. I forgot to shout you out there, man. Salute to you every single time. I wonder if Jamie's still in here, because I'd send him a little invite to come on, because I know he'd have a great little say on it. In fact, I wonder, is he still in the chat? If Jamie is still in the chat, let us know, and I'll see if you're free. I'll see if you want to come on for the last few minutes. Oh, wow. Speaking of Jamie, actually, look at this. He just posted it here. So for anyone wondering, the Zone pay-per-view. You see it there? Pay-per-view. Crazy. The Zone pay-per-view. Damn. I wonder how much they're going to charge for that. Fury has always been wary of being undercooked for being in big fights. For being undercooked for big fights. He's using Chisora as a warm-up. Possibly, man. Avanesian would smash Benn. Man, I still think Evan will probably. I think that's a competitive fight, but I'd side with Evan. I'd favour Evan slightly in that fight. I would. You knew that already, G-Man? Maybe. Ben Eubank just been confirmed. Yeah. Rehydration is a big factor for Eubank, I reckon. It's hard to say, mate. It's hard to say. So we've just gone over the hour mark. I enjoyed this. I really did. I really, really enjoyed this. Maybe we'll do another one of these next week. I think there was a few people who joined the chat, but obviously for whatever reason they didn't have time, and it went on a bit longer than I expected. But we enjoyed that. Maybe next week we'll get a few more subs on. No way, Eubank pay-per-view. What a load of BS. Yes, it is. Oh, no. We'll get one last guest on. Why not? Come on, mate. What's the crack? How are you?
Hello, how are you?
What's up, mate? How are you keeping?
I'm here just to talk about the Eubank and Benn fight. I don't know if you remember when Eddie Hearn met Brooke versus GGG.
I remember it well. I thought it was. I
feel like this is the same thing that Hearn is doing again. He's literally I feel like he sought out Brooke because he couldn't get an opponent for GGG. And I feel like he's selling out Benn basically because he can't get like a proper waterweight opponent for him. And I feel like
right, I want to counter that because as I will always say, right, it was no one forced Kell Brook to take the Triple G fight, right? It was offered by Eddie Hearn, yes, but he didn't have to. But with this one, I agree with you. I don't think Conor Benn. I don't think Eddie Hearn. I think Eddie Hearn looks at opponents at welterweight and thinks too risky, cash out.
Maybe 10, like I'd say maybe top 6, 7 waterweights. Maybe even 10, I'd say top 10. There's no way Benn, I think, beats them. So
Staniones, guys like that.
Is basically, I feel like he's just cashing out because I think he knows that. Like even if it's, let's say Crawford moves up to 154 and Spence moves up to 154. There's Ortiz and then there's Ennis. There's no way that basically Benn gets a title.
It's a thing I've always found interesting about Benn, and I always worry about this when I see it with prospects. He's never fought a puncher. He's never fought a big puncher. And you always have to kind of worry a bit.
I personally don't think that he's got that much punching power either, compared to the other waterweights, basically. If you're looking at Spence, Ortiz, Ennis, Crawford, I feel like they hit like they're much bigger punches than he is as well.
I think that when you're fighting a washed-up Chris Algieri, Chris Van Heerden, it's easy to look devastating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like he's way, way overrated, and I just think at this point, Han has kind of like realized it, and he's just basically cashing out on him, I feel.
Will you be paying for it?
I'll probably watch it. Yeah. So like, but I feel, like you said,
still watch it. We'll still watch
it. I'm gonna watch it. If Eubank doesn't beat the living daylights out of, I think if it goes to like a 12 rounds, the full 12 rounds, and Eubank wins on points, I feel like
that. I feel like I actually look at Eubank and say, you have flipping lost this fight. Even though you've won it, you've lost it.
Exactly. He has to literally, if it goes 12 rounds, he has to beat him up, pillar to post, to the point where like would think maybe the referee should have stopped it. If it doesn't do that, I feel like he's basically lost. Because it's like 160. And it's funny.
They say catch weight. So we'll say 1.5. We'll say 1.567 for now. But last thing, right? This is the thing I don't like about this, right? And again, Kell Brook, right? Kell Brook was big for welterweight. He was really a 154 pounder. This is a small welterweight.
A lot of people say that he could make 140.
He could.
He probably maybe should go to 140. You probably has got more chances of winning titles there than in 147.
It's a tough division. Like I said, Paddy Donovan is a good-looking prospect. He's a good prospect.
That's what I mean. Like the waterweight.
But I say, like, welterweight, in general,
it's like... The waterweight division has always been, like, the most talented kind of... Well, you're looking at Mayweather, Pacquiao, Crawford, Spence, and now, like, even before, like,
without
next
fail.
generation, you've
De
got
La
Archie.
Hoya,
And then
Trinidad,
like
Hearn,
like
Leonard,
so there's no
etc.
way that like if you're an average, not average, let's say he's a decent boxer, there's no way he's gonna like
No,
really
welterweight is like the cream rise to the crop at welterweight. They do. They
exactly.
always do.
Yeah.
So you going for Eubank stoppage or points?
I think points. Unfortunately, yeah. I don't
Oh
think
wow.
he's gonna. I don't think he's got. I think he's gonna mess around. Basically, he might head corner, but I don't think it's gonna stop him. I think he's gonna mess around.
Isn't boxing just the craziest? Like, just when we think about it like this, right? In 2017, we got Canelo versus Chavez Jr. If you'd said to me when Canelo beat Cotto, in less than 2 years, you'll have Canelo Chavez Jr., I'd have laughed at you and said, "Stop! Whatever you're drinking, it must be good. Give me some." But we ain't seeing that. Boxing's crazy like that, isn't it?
It's the same thing though. When Ben started, like I had people back then talking about this is a potential fight, and I was like, nah, no way. Not only did Conor look bad, but he was a small welterweight and he was a bad welterweight. So there was never like a chance where you thought like, yeah, like he's got a chance.
It's been it's crazy, mate. Mate, I'm gonna end this here, but appreciate you coming on, man. I'm glad you came on top because that was good fun. I enjoyed that.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, man. And for everyone else in the chat, well, I'm going to do a video now talking about this fight. And stay tuned for that. For people, I enjoyed this. We'll do another one. I really enjoyed talking with you guys. It was great fun. I wish I had more time, but let's have a little video and we'll talk about it in the comment section. I would laugh my you-know-what off if Ben miraculously... Could you imagine it, Nick? I'd be sat there like, what the hell? I'm maybe might be at that fight. You never know. But people, I'll leave you with that. Smash the like button. Thank you, Jackie. Great live. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you people. Peace.